Ever since we put the new winch and bumper on our new Gladiator Helios, we've been wanting to get her out on the trails. And where do you take an otherwise stock Rubicon Gladiator on 33-inch tires to get out on the trails? You'd take it the same place that Bill originally took this black Jeep, long before we'd ever heard of Overlanding, when it was still on 30-inch stock tires. A place where just traveling to the destination is part of the adventure. A place full of wild woodlands, deep mud holes, rocky steps, and serene beaches. This is Drummond Island, Michigan. It's over 500 miles and 8 hours of drive time from our home in Ohio, through Michigan, across the Mackinac Bridge, and out to the Drummond Island Ferry in Detroit, Michigan. Except during periods of heavy ice and high winds, this ferry runs year-round. Ferry service is first come, first served, so expect to wait in line, especially on busy weekends. We had just missed the last ferry and were first in line for the next one to arrive. In May of 2024, when we took this trip, the fare was $20 per each Jeep and the trailer. Once you board the ferry, the staff asks that everybody stay in their vehicle until everyone is counted and paid. But once that ferry is underway, feel free to get out and enjoy the views. The actual ferry ride across the St. Mary's River takes less than 10 minutes.
The guy taking the money, he was like, have you ever been here? I said, I haven't. My husband has. Oh, you're going to love it. It's a lot of mud. And I was like, okay. We'll find out.
The likelihood is you'll spend more time on that ferry waiting to depart and waiting to disembark at the other end than you will actually crossing the river. Although there was cell service at the ferry terminal and many places on the island, make sure you download your maps in advance. Once we made our way to the South Glen Cove Road on the eastern part of the island, that cell service was much spottier. South Glen Cove Road is a very smooth and easy road with dispersed camping, which makes it very popular. But if you drive past Glen Cove onto Marblehead Road, expect that road to get rougher. And if you look very carefully in this area, you too can find the hidden gem of a campsite that we found right near the lake. Though you should be aware that this particular site doesn't have very much room to maneuver in. And don't forget to take along your bug spray and your Thermacell, because although it's rare to hear people complain of mosquitoes here, when we were visiting, they were horrendous. If you don't believe me, just keep an eye on that footage. You're sure to see plenty of mosquitoes flying in front of the camera. It was still early afternoon by the time we had settled into our campsite within walking distance of the lakeshore. So the question was what we would do with the rest of the afternoon. Today we decided we would take the same track that Tristan and Bill had taken 8 years ago when they first came here with the same black Jeep. The track over to the Marblehead Steps, then to the Shale Beach, and back around to camp. The Marblehead Road is rough, rocky, and has significant mud holes, but otherwise, this was just a fun trail without too many technical parts. But if you'll notice all those rocks on the road ahead, expect this road to be rough and slow-going, even after you unhook your sway bar and are down. The road from Glen Cove out to the Marblehead Overlook is about 4 miles in length one way, and this particular mud hole and the steps that follow it are one of the most technical sections before you reach the Marblehead Steps. As long as you pick your line fairly carefully here, these steps aren't too much of a challenge, but when you come straight out of that significant mud hole and then you try and ascend these stairs, well, sometimes you get stopped and you have to back up and try again. Welcome to the Marblehead Steps, one of the most iconic sites in the area. This is the reason that this trail rates anywhere from a 4 to a 6 for difficulty. We happened to arrive just in time to watch this Jeep take on one of the most rugged and challenging sections of those stairs. have no idea what size tire and lift that Jeep had, but what I can tell you is he had at least an extra foot of clearance that we knew we didn't have. Luckily, there are several different lines that can be chosen to drive both down and back up these stairs. The easiest line is probably rated around a level 4, but almost any high clearance 4x4 can drive it. As our JKU was on 35s with just a leveling kit, Bill opted to take the easy line on the far left. Although it's very tempting to drive all the way down to the overlook, and I've seen plenty of people on YouTube do that, when we were here there were signs prohibiting vehicles past a certain point, and so we got out and took the short walk down to the view. But as enchanting as this view over Lake Huron can be, we soon found ourselves back at that Jeep, looking at those lines back up the stairs. This particular line is probably about a level 6, but I've seen it done by a Jeep on 35s with a lift. Bill again opted for this easier line, but even this particular line can be a challenge. After you leave the steps behind, you have to decide, are you going to turn right back towards Glen Cove or turn left and go through this forested and marshy area towards Shale Beach. Trails Off-Road calls this particular 3/4 of a mile stretch of road Stone's Throw, and they rate it as a level 4. This trail winds its way through a marshy woodland through several mud holes. At the end of that short connector road, you then have to decide, are you going right towards the tank traps or left towards Shale Beach? The road to Shale Beach is only 2/3 of a mile long, but it's rated at a level 5. This particular mud hole, with varying sizes of rocks underneath, is the main obstacle.
Yeah, that's exactly spot. I remember this big tree and everything.
Unlike at the Marblehead Overlook, at Shale Beach you have easy access all the way down to the water. But do keep in mind that you are asked not to drive on the beaches or in the water. After dousing ourselves with mosquito repellent and skirting the poison ivy in the area, Shale Beach turned out to be a perfect place to stop, enjoy dinner, and just watch the clouds roll by. You can also easily find fossils in many of the rocks right on the beach. After we left Shale Beach, we took a left-hand turn to avoid retracing our steps and also avoid going through the tank traps. But this trail turned out to be a little rougher than we expected.
It almost doesn't even look like a road.
Soon enough, however, we found ourselves joining that main road where we could look back over our shoulders at a few of those tank traps. And that relatively smooth main road took us straight back over towards Glen Cove and our campsite for the evening, where we got to enjoy a beautiful sunset over Lake Huron. Thanks for joining us on our first day of adventure on Drummond Island. And if you come back next time, you'll get to see something brand new. Me driving off-road in Helios for the very first time, while Bill gets to try his hand at filming. So if you want to know if I've learned anything just watching Bill drive off-road, or whether he's learned anything about filming from watching me, you're just going to have to come back next time to see. Until then, make sure to go out and find your own adventure.